Hey guys, welcome to Undead Health. Let's check out this video called another Europe the First Crusade series. It's part 4 and my cat is over here. She's gonna annoy me through the rest of the videos. Please bear with me. Please bear with my cat, okay? She's gonna annoy you. She's gonna scream and all that shit, okay? So, let's just get into this fourth part. It's called Men of Iron, okay? Because throughout all the videos on this series, it's all cartoonish and it's a little bit comedic. I don't think it's like this comedic though. I feel like I'm watching a wrong series that is based on Crusades. So can somebody tell me if there's any series out there that focuses on the Crusades properly with with a bit of seriousness to it? Like I'm reacting to some Napoleon series, Belisarius series from the Rome, and World War I series from Epic History TV channel. This channel has their content is serious and fantastic. Okay, so I would like to know about Crusades in a similar fashion, like to know how serious, like in a serious way. Every detail told to us in a serious way. But this series is kind of like comedic. Although I love it. I have been laughing throughout the whole shit. I don't know if I should laugh at it because it's actually like the history and stuff. But I don't know. We'll see. Last time they started killing. It's all fucked up. And they finally reached the Holy Land, or at least went on a boat to reach the Holy Land or something, the Constantinople. Okay, so let's just get into this fourth part. It's called Men of Iron. So more bloodshed, more people with swords and shit. In the name of God, they start fucking, I don't know, whatever. I'm sorry, okay? It's not like I'm a non-believer or anything. I'm a believer. I believe in God. But at least in this series, it makes it look like it's all ridiculous or something. I don't know. I hope not. I hope that's not how it went in the past. So I hope Crusades were like more serious, and I would like to know more about them. So please suggest me if you have any series out there on YouTube that I don't know about that I can react to. So let's get into it. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. It's 10 minutes long, a bit longer than the other ones. Probably a bit of more content in it. Let's see. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Men of Iron, Europe, the First Crusade by Extra History, Part 4. Let's get into it. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Okay. All right. God damn it. Calm down. And also, like, this series is very old. 8 years ago is when it was uploaded. So, and the videos are like 720p. Because back then, like, 1080p was like almost rare. But let's go. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Extra history.
And so, at last, the Crusade sailed across the Bosphorus. All 5 of the crusading armies and the remnants of the Peasants' Crusade joining into one massive force to retake the Holy Land. The Crusaders finally passed out of Christian territory. They weren't on Allied ground anymore. For once, any damage they did would actually be to the enemy they were summoned to fight. The First Crusade really had begun. But as the ships crossed the Bosphorus and disgorged their cargo of men and mail and plate, of giant destriers barded for war, of crossbowmen counting their quarrels, they were met with a silent, empty plain.
What the fuck?
One after another, the Crusader forces arrived, and they waited. Anatolia was quiet. Too quiet. No Turkish horde came to sweep them back into the Bosphorus. No Saracen riders came to pour waves of arrows down on their crusading band. And so the princes met, discussed, and decided that they would move their forces to Nicaea, a few days' march away, with Godfrey de Bouillon at the head of the band. Nicaea was an important city. It was strategically important. It held the road to Jerusalem. If they couldn't take it, they'd have to march a much more difficult path with an incredible enemy stronghold at their back. Nicaea was also symbolically important. The First Ecumenical Council, the Council of Nicaea, had once been called there by the Emperor Constantine himself to determine what was orthodox for the Christian world. And it was politically important. When Kilij Arslan took over the Sultanate of Rum, he took Nicaea for his capital. It housed the royal treasury and the family of the Sultan. So the crusading forces marched on Nicaea. Godfrey and Bohemond and Tancred arrived first, followed by Raymond and Robert of Flanders. One by one, they set up the siege. And still, nothing happened. Still no Turks. This was getting weird. So, in the eerie quiet, the Crusader army broke into its component parts again, and each army took a section of the high, ancient Roman walls to lay siege to. Godfrey took the north. Bohemond and Tancred set up around the east. Raymond was still dawdling towards Nicaea, but the other two figured he could hold the southern wall when he got there. As for the west, well, one of the key features of Nicaea is that it sits on the lake Ascania. And this is no small lake, it's about 115 square miles. The western wall of Nicaea abuts the lake itself, so the Crusaders figured, well, we don't really need to guard that. And thus, the Crusaders set up around the walls of Nicaea and promptly began to starve. But Bohemond, a seasoned military man, set up a system of naval resupply with the Byzantines. With that handled, the real work of sitting around could get started. Just as Raymond finally dawdled into place, the Turks at last arrived. Kilij Arslan, at the head of about 10,000 horse archers, thundered down in the plain surrounding the city. Then he saw just how many Crusaders he was facing, and turned right around and thundered off in the other direction. The Crusaders gave chase with their heavy steeds, but as the Turkish horses were faster, the Crusaders inflicted only light casualties on Kilij Arslan's force. Still, they had routed them. The Crusaders...
It doesn't matter, he's already running, might as well fucking die. It's so embarrassing, really.
They're celebrated. They held the field, and morale was lifted. It was time to get back to the siege. Now, each of the crusading forces had a different idea on how the siege should go. Some were trying to wait it out. Others were building siege engines. Others were digging under the walls, but none of this seemed to have much effect. Finally, it dawned on them that the western wall on the lake was a little more important than maybe they had first thought. Turns out, the garrison at Nicaea was secretly getting resupplied by boats coming over the lake at night. That kinda threw a wrench in this whole siege plan. The Crusaders didn't have enough forces to guard the entire coast of that enormous lake, and they didn't have a navy of their own to stop the resupply either. But if they didn't somehow prevent supplies from getting into the city, the defenders could practically hold out forever. So what did they do? Well, in a feat of logistics that could only be achieved by the heirs of Rome, the Byzantines...
Man, this shit is so entertaining. It's like, I can't even speak. I can't even pause and talk about things. It's so entertaining. It's like a movie, okay? It's so cool and funny. And well, not funny, but more like... Because it's all cartoonish, the way it's narrated, the narrator's voice is also like thin, really kind of like comedic feeling to it, and it's so entertaining to watch. That's what one thing I want to say about this series. It's super entertaining to watch. I feel like I want to react to the next part now too. That's how entertaining this is. But I feel like the real life based on the Crusades, it's probably grim and dark. That's what I'm guessing. I want to find some other videos to react to based on the Crusades so that I can actually, see for what it is, in its actual, because this thing is kind of like comedic and cartoonish, but I would like to know the actual, the feel of it, how it happened, how they went on and stuff like that. Okay, let's go.
Came to the rescue. They sailed.
If you know of any series like that on YouTube, please tell me. I will definitely react to that. Okay, let's go.
A group of ships to the harbor at Kivito, hauled them out of the water, put them on rollers, and dragged them to Nicaea. The next day, with as much fanfare as possible, the Byzantine ships began an assault from the lake, while the Crusaders assaulted the walls of the city from the shore. And soon, with their resupply cut off and their reinforcements driven back, the people of Nicaea offered to surrender. But here's where it gets complicated, because who do you surrender to? There were basically 5 crusading armies and the Byzantines surrounding the city. To make it even more complicated, the garrison in the city, the only guys with weapons, were all Muslim Turks, while the population of the city, who vastly outnumbered them, were Orthodox Christians who used to be part of the Eastern Roman Empire.
Wow.
Oh, and not to mention the fact that the Sultan's wife and family were still in the city, as was the Sultan's treasury. So the negotiations began. But as the Crusaders were negotiating, they were also periodically assaulting the city.
Well, it's as an Indian, I'm an Indian, right? I'm kind of surprised that the Muslims are there even back then during the Crusades. That's crazy, and it's almost like the Muslim stuff has been, in I don't know, in what do you call it? In other parts of societies since the beginning. That's how I feel like. I don't know. But they do seem to be very, ready for battle, ready to kill and shit like that. Whereas the Orthodox Christians are like very, peaceful and vulnerable and innocent and whatnot. I don't know. Let's see.
During one of those assaults, somehow, magically, the 2,000 Byzantine troops scaled the walls and captured the city, a feat which tens of thousands of crusaders hadn't been able to achieve. That might seem like an incredible military feat, but remember, this is Emperor Alexius Komnenos we're talking about, and he was always a crafty guy. He knew that if the Crusaders got a hold of Nicaea, they would loot it until it burned to the ground, and then maybe not even give it back to him afterwards. That would not do. So, he had secretly made a deal with basically everybody inside the city to just let him take it. He let the Turks go free, he ensured the safety of the Sultan's family, he brought the people of Nicaea back into the imperial fold, and promised them protection from ransacking. And in return, they just sort of let his troops over the walls. Once the city was firmly in his hands, he let the Crusaders in small groups, and always under guard. But he tried to placate the Crusaders with gifts, to varying degrees of effect. He also tried to get them to reaffirm their oath to him to return Byzantine territory, also with varying degrees of effect. And so the Byzantines remained garrisoned in Nicaea, and the Crusaders prepared to press on. But hang on, what exactly was going on with the Turks this whole time? Why hadn't they showed up until it was too late? Where was Kilij Arslan the whole time the crusade was marching on Nicaea? Well, have I got a surprise twist for you? I bet you thought this whole time that whole peasants' crusade thing was useless, perhaps even more than useless. Well, turns out, by dying so pathetically in such large numbers so quickly, they had convinced Kilij Arslan that the crusading forces were not worth worrying about. And so, by heroically being such utter and unmitigated failures, the Peasants' Crusade had lulled the Sultan into thinking he had far more pressing things to deal with than these silly French people who kept showing up on his shores. Like medieval Europe, the Islamic states were also always involved in minor wars against one another, and the Sunni-Shia split led some in Europe to believe that the Muslim sects were more likely to ally with the Crusaders against one another than actually band together to fight. And when the Crusaders had landed, Kilij Arslan had been off in the eastern part of his realm dealing with border disputes from one of the other Islamic states. He had actually been informed of the Crusaders landing almost immediately, but he figured they'd probably bumble themselves to death before he'd even get there, and that his garrisons could deal with whatever trouble they might create anyway. In one of the...
That's like... You think like that about your enemy and you don't care. That's kind of stupid, man. you were not expecting any danger at all. Like, come on, man. and then you came up there and you saw the amount of people and they were trying to chase you and then you ran away from them. What the fuck? This is so stupid. This guy, the Khilji guy, is ridiculous.
The great ironies of history. If the Peasants' Crusade hadn't expired en masse without doing any real damage, the Prince's Crusade might have been swept back into the sea before it ever had a chance to group up and gather steam. But
it's almost like it's God's plan. You know what I mean? It's crazy. I don't know.
It had, and now the Crusade began to head south. But finding supply too difficult to manage, they split again into two forces. A smaller force led by Bohemond and Tancred in the vanguard, and a larger force with Godfrey, Raymond, Stephen, and Hugh behind. After about 4 days' march, as dawn broke and Bohemond's forces began to wake in a small valley outside Derelium, Turks started to pour out of the surrounding hills. Kilij Arslan was not done yet.
The Turks... I don't want to hate on Muslims, but man, Muslims, they're like, they need to stop being so violent. I don't know. Maybe I'm generalizing, but ever since, you know, the ISIS, the terrorism and this thing is like, stop being violent. Even if your religion says you to be, tells you to be violent and, uphold the religion no matter what or something. I don't know if it's, I think I've read some passages of the religion where it says, fight or even beat who doesn't believe or something. I could be completely wrong. I could be generalizing, but, the Muslims need to stop being so dominantly so violent. It's just not gonna help out, man. Most of the problems nowadays, if there's no problems, it's gonna start from the Muslims or something, in the future, they're never gonna stop. I hope, they stop at some point and be more human like the rest of the world, even though I know it's tribalistic. The world is tribalistic. You have to fight for things. But that's different compared to just fighting in the name of, promoting your religion or something like that's crazy, man. And I hope we all can, the whole world can live in harmony. I hope, and there's not going to be any fightings because of religion or whatnot. Religion is important. It makes everybody's lives better, but we should be able to understand, right? And they should stop being violent. That's all I'm saying. Please don't be offended if you're Muslim. I'm just saying. I'm not generalizing. I could be generalizing, and if I did, I'm sorry, but just wanted to get my point across. Let's not be violent. It's just not good. No matter how many times you fight, you might even win and dominate, but still, like, you caused a lot of bloodshed, and what is it really that important? That's just, I'm just saying, so let's go.
Whirled in and out of the camp, slaughtering civilians and unarmored combatants. Individual knights tried to arm and mount amidst the chaos. Those who could tried heroically but futilely, often alone or in small gathered groups, to charge the fluid Turkish line. At last, Bohemond, riding furiously up and down the camp, shouted to his knights to dismount, lock shields, and defend the civilians. They formed a circle and tried to bring those without protection inside. The Turks rained arrows down on the knights in an unending stream, and yet they stood, stolid and unmoving. In one of the most impressive acts of discipline in all of the Crusades, the knights held their line for hours, never being baited into charging, never breaking formation as men fell from the deadly hail. Inside the circle, people screamed as stray arrows made it over the wall of armor and shields and occasionally found their mark. Then the priests inside the circle began to sing, and those nearby began to sing with them. And the sun rose, and the men still held, battered by such mortal rain, baking in the heat of Anatolia, wearing full male armor under the blistering sun. Then the women began to bring water to the line of knights, risky though it was to try. And still, the knights did one of the most difficult things for any army in any time. Simply take fire for hours without moving, without breaking, without ever being able to attack back at their foe. And the line held. Slowly throughout the day, small forces of crusaders arrived. Godfrey, with some 50 knights, abandoned his main force and cut his way to the embattled Bohemond, as did men of Hugh's forces. Then, at last, after 7 straight hours of sun and arrows, Raymond's force arrived and slammed into the Turkish flank, surprising them completely. As he did so, Bohemond and Godfrey ordered the men to remount, abandon the shield wall, and charge the Turkish line, with a mighty cry of, "Today, if God's willing, we'll all be rich!"
Yes!
Completely serious. That was the battle cry, just a bit more Latin. Reeling, Khalid Arslan pulled back to a hilltop to defend. The fighting was fierce.
I've always seen, like, Muslims are, like, so fucking hostile, man. Especially the terrorists that you cannot... You might kill a fucking rapidly fast-moving ninja, but a fucking Muslim terrorist, you cannot kill him. Because that motherfucker is so... It's like it's his nature. The Muslim terrorists are so hardcore. It's like, how the fuck is that even possible? They're like so ridiculous, man. They can terrorize anybody, dude. It's insane. That's why I keep saying that Muslims need to calm down. At some point you gotta... some of these societies that are completely fucked up, they don't talk about how fucked up they are. If you say anything, they'll blame you. It's much better to realize something and change, but that doesn't happen. It's almost like changing is a major defeat for them, It's like, I don't know, reinforce yourselves, make things better, But then again, I'm not a better one either. I'm just saying, because as a fellow human being, I'm just saying, look, man, something is wrong with you. That's all I'm saying. I'm not generalizing all Muslims, but some of the facets of that religion is kind of like fucked up, bro. But this story, what an inspiration. They fought so, they held their line so hard. It's like, wow, this is probably the best video in this series so far. Fantastic. And the women, the priests are singing holy. Wow, the power of belief, and then Christianity. This is the power of Christianity. Even though, I'm not a Christian, my Hinduism is also great and I believe in it. I love my religion, but there's also there's a reason why Christianity existed. There's a reason why it came up, because there's a undeniable strong belief in Christianity is why it's so this things like this just makes me so brave and happy, good for the Christians. Amazing. And the fucking Turks can fuck off, please. Come on, man. What the fuck? Torturing people. Fuck you.
Until at last, a force led by Bishop Adhemar, of all people, snuck around behind the Turks, burned their camp, and charged them from the rear. The Turkish line fell apart, and the way to Antioch was left open to the exhausted crew.
Okay, did the Killjoy motherfucker die or not? Please tell me. I want him to die. Fuck him. What the fuck, man?
Crusaders.
Really?
Join us next time for the March to Antioch, the trials of the desert, and a liberal interpretation of the meaning of oaths.
Okay. Cool. Wow. What a great series. It has been good throughout so far, but this video is fucking amazing. No comedy there. When things getting serious, he actually told us how they maintained, held their line, how they fought, how they sung in between all of that. The priests, people getting wounded were treated by women coming with water, and it's just so beautiful, so wonderful. Pray to God, it's for Christians, that's fucking amazing. It's so great to see what they went through in the past. As an outsider, as an Indian, it's so great to see. And you guys are lucky that you're in this world. You can pick 2 or 3 religions. It's either Buddhism or Hinduism or Christianity. I feel like Christianity nowadays, in this modern technologically fucked up society, I feel like Christianity has failed because of the amount of pornography, the amount of infidelity, the amount of the sex shit has fucking destroyed the Western society altogether, and I don't think it's gonna recover. And Christianity has failed, in my opinion, because it doesn't force people, okay, but it makes people force themselves. You know what I mean? So into believing in it. And back then, people would naturally believe in it because they had nothing like a crazy ass internet TikTok garbage, and they had to they just loved being a believer in Christ. Even if they were not really a believer, they would follow Christ no matter what. But now it's like, with all the fucking stupid ass shit around, the modern body count, women are sleeping around like crazy, bro, and nobody says anything. And if you say anything, then you're a virgin loser, and as if being a virgin is the worst thing ever. It's like, what the fuck? This bad shit in the society will eventually kill Western society, man. And I'm from an outsider, I'm seeing all this, and I'm like, it's gonna end. It's gonna be so bad. Okay, so yeah, my cat is annoying me. So the Christianity, in my opinion, right now, it has failed, and the people that still believe and following it, I don't know how they're doing it. It's really hard. And I also seen during the COVID times and other times, the woke times nowadays, churches are okay with gay stuff and homosexual stuff. They're not preaching their word. They're okay with that. There's gay priests too, and it's, what the fuck? This is so bad. And if you say anything, then you're homophobic, like as if anybody cares. Homophobic. And these phobic words, these words are almost like a mind control, like a fucking spiritual, like a black magic on people, and nobody can say anything. It's so fuck. I love to be homophobic. I would love to be. Fuck y'all, okay? Fuck gay motherfuckers. I'm sorry, man. They are the reason all this shit is happening. They open the fucking doors to this garbage, okay? And people, when I'm seeing this stuff, well, Christians fighting for themselves, being peaceful and being nice, I'm like so heartfelt. I felt so good to see Christians being Christians, But nowadays you can't. it's like, wow, man. And you know, the whole immigration thing that is crazy, you know, it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? Come on, you want to kill yourselves? You want to import illegal immigrants illegally who are like fucking, could be rapists, murders, anybody. It's holy shit, and nobody says anything. The media always wins. Fuck this, okay? Christianity has failed. Nobody believes in it anymore. But Christianity during those times, it's fucking beautiful. I cherish that. Even though I'm not a Christian, I'm looking at that, I'm like, wow, man, this is how you fight for your religion. At least you don't fight back, and at least you defend yourselves and stand your line. That is so inspirational, man. So amazing, okay? I hope you learned something from this, you know? If you're of a different type of mindset and you're pissed off at what I said, please don't be offended. At least try to understand. Okay, so yeah, Europe, the First Crusade, Men of Iron, extra history, Men of Iron. Yeah, I liked it. Part 4, amazing. Can't wait for the next one. Let's see what happens. I hope the Killji motherfucker died. I don't know what happened to him. Please tell me in the comment section what happened to him. And I hope Christianity prevails again. You know, because I'm at a point where you gotta ditch Christianity and adopt like Hinduism or Buddhism. You know, in my religion, Hinduism, it's much more peaceful and nice. You know, it's not polarizing for people nowadays like Christianity. I don't know. You know, you're a Christian. Do you believe in God? Okay, good. Do you follow Christianity? It's almost impossible to follow Christianity. Am I right? I could be wrong, but you know, that's a thing that I've noticed among a lot of Christians. It's so hard for them to follow Christianity nowadays. And the fucking over crazy obsession with, you know, fucking intelligence, obsession with way too much intelligence. People can't be normal nowadays. They have to be intelligent. It's so stupid. Especially in the Western society, everybody has to be a robot. When they speak like robots. It's fucking crazy. And the obsession with sex, it's like ugh, it's so nasty, bro. You gotta ditch Christianity to find some other, like, I don't know, Buddhism or Hinduism or some other religion, because this Abrahamic religion has failed, in my opinion. I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm offending you. You see the world nowadays, the TikTok and everything. You see it. There's a porno video that came out of this stupid bitch on Twitter or social media, and it skyrocketed and became super popular. Everybody's jerking off to it. What the fuck? You know? So that's proof to me that Christianity has failed, because the people of Christianity, Christians themselves, have failed it. That's what happened, okay? So I'm sorry for this long-ass rant in the end of this video, but if you like this, please subscribe, and please type down in the comment section. Tell me your thoughts. Please don't be hateful. Please try to type down so that I can understand as well as an outsider, okay? So please, let's have a normal conversation if we can, okay? So yeah, next part, stay tuned for that. Subscribe to this channel. Go check out my backup channel, the link in the description. There's a lot of historical stuff over there as well. And subscribe to both my channels. I'll see you guys in the next part in the next week on the same day today, okay? I don't upload that much because my backup channel got, you know, copyright striked. So I only upload once a week, but you'll get a lot of videos, okay? So please subscribe to both my channels. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.